One of my clients recently got majorly burnt by a social media agency, and if I had known then what I know now, I could have prevented the entire debacle. It's a month ago, and I'm sitting at my computer feeling guilty and dumbstruck. I'm feeling guilty because just a few weeks before that, my client had asked me to check out a social media agency for them that they were looking to hire. And I thought, I'm the perfect person to do this. I know social media, and I thought I did all the right things. I called some of their clients who gave them glowing reviews, and I checked out the social media that this agency was doing for some of their clients, and the social media looked good. I even had like a really good feeling about the salesperson who was representing the agency. So I gave the agency 2 thumbs up. So I feel guilty because as I'm looking at the posts that the agency is writing for my client, the posts are bad. The posts they're writing for my client look nothing like the posts that I saw when I was checking out the agency. And I was getting a really strong sense that whatever junior staff member they put in charge of my client's account knew almost nothing about writing or social media strategy. And I'm dumbstruck because when I try to fix this mess that I see, the response I get from the agency's president is whack. For instance, when I complained that the agency kept misspelling my client's company name in posts, the agency's president said that how my client chooses to spell their company name is just a matter of opinion, and that his staff was just taking creative license and they had their opinion of how my client should spell their company name. Creative license? You can't decide how to spell someone else's name. And the president added, but I'll make sure that my staff spells the company name the way you want it to be spelled to keep you happy. And thank you, Brooke, for your opinion. So I immediately Google how to tell if someone is a sociopath. Things continue to spiral downward, and in the end, my client ends up spending a ton of money on social media that does them little good. And I'm wondering, how did I not see this coming? What did I miss when I was vetting that agency? And I have to find out because at some point my client is going to want to outsource their social media again, and I want to make things right. So I call John Bertino of The Agency Guy. He has an unusual job. He is a marketing agency matchmaker. So he tries to find the right agency for a business based on their budget and their specific needs and even the personalities of both sides. So John has a really keen eye for sifting out the good from the bad. So I ask if I can interview him on what to look for in a social media agency and pitfalls to avoid. Obviously for your benefit, but clearly I need the help too. Unfortunately, there's such a low barrier to entry with social media agencies or social media marketers. So what sort of things are you looking for?
Yeah, low barriers to entry for sure. That's something we talk about a lot. So with social media, I think the first thing there is to understand that the mere management of social profiles, the management of the Facebook page, the management of a Twitter account is not all that difficult, right? It's true that almost anyone can do it, but that's not really what makes for successful social media engagement. So I think even before you get to what makes a good agency is making sure the client understands that what makes social media successful is the content, right? The social media is just a vehicle, it's just a distribution mechanism or platform by which the content gets out there. Your social media is really only as good as the content you put through it. It's an obvious point, and yet a really important one that's lost on a lot of business owners. Again, they just want, oftentimes, especially small businesses, want some type of easy plug and play, inexpensive solution. But great content isn't usually easy, plug and play, or inexpensive, right?
As you're vetting an agency, obviously, because again, anyone can claim anything, what sort of warning signs do you see that maybe a small business owner might not know to look for?
And so there's a lot of things you can look for. I would say one of the big things I always recommend when hiring really any type of agency is that the agency or consultant, right? And we use the term agency loosely these days, right? An agency can be two people, it could technically even be one, right? But that the agency or consultant has a proclivity for trying to help the client understand what they're buying. I really feel that's important. I think agencies or consultants that make a habit of trying to talk over your head, to me, that's a big red flag. I don't want to hear fancy jargon as a way to demonstrate subject matter expertise. It's fine if you use jargon, but I think that if I'm if you're trying to hire someone to do these things, they should be willing to make sure you understand conceptually what's going on and that it's communicated in a way that's digestible, that's understandable. And going beyond the fancy jargon, even just someone that just kind of, yeses you to death or says sure, 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 or, doesn't spend enough time talking about how they do what they do or what goes into it. It's more just about, here's what we charge, all of those are signs that they're not really interested or caring so much about helping you understand what you're buying. And to me, that's one big red flag. So in addition to that, I would recommend anybody that's looking to source an agency do two things when it comes to the personnel of that agency. One, try to find video or content that stems from the ownership. Ideally, it's video, so you can really get a feel for the people that are running the show at the top. As almost cliche as it is to say, culture flows, stems from the top of the organization and permeates throughout. And so by getting a feel for ownership, I think you can really start to get a feel for what it is you're buying. And the other thing I always recommend is to ask the potential agency that you're about to source to speak with the point of contact you'll be working with. So if you're hiring a small team and you're talking directly throughout the process to who you'll be working with, that's fine. But if you're working with a somewhat large organization and your initial point of contact is a salesperson, but they're not necessarily who you're going to be working with, I always tell business owners to, before they sign that contract, ask to speak with who their account manager and project manager is going to be, because in a lot of ways, that's going to be what 75, 85% of the relationship really comes down to is who that person is and your chemistry with them.
Now, one question I know that I've gotten when I tell people about you is, well, what does he charge? So how does this work as a matchmaker?
I know it sounds too good to be true, but we don't charge the client. um,
And you
more
can
often,
do this because?
more often than not, we don't charge and we're free. We do any consulting and agency matching pro bono, and we're able to do that because we're compensated by the agencies we represent. But what's really interesting about that, or one of the things that's really interesting about that, is that that model quite literally incentivizes us to try to put an agency with a brand to match that they're absolutely going to love. Because
Yes.
if that relationship falls apart, we make very little, if any, money. And it's a giant waste of time for all parties involved, especially us, right? Yeah, we're compensated through the teams we represent, and by placing a brand with an agency and those two having a long-lasting, successful relationship, that's how everybody wins.
After I interviewed John, I could not believe the things I missed when I was vetting that agency. Yes, I should have spoken with the agency's president. I should have spoken with the person who would be handling my client's account. But the biggest aha is that I should have asked John for his help in the first place. Whether someone is brand new to social media or it's practically their life like it is for me because this is my career, it's okay to ask for help. So in the description for this video, I'm going to include a link to the agency guy's website as well as a link to John Bertino's LinkedIn profile. And your next step, whether you're hiring a social media agency or keeping your social media in-house, is to understand your analytics, because you have to know whether or not your social media is working. So watch this video about analytics, where I teach you about the top analytics for you to pay attention to and certain things you can do to fix your social media to get the results you want. Thank you so much, and see you in the next video.